Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Centric. This being a show about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Tulsa King. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, there's the whole situation with Tyson. Tyson's asking, Dwight, like, well, where do you see me in 5 years? It's like, where do I see you? Where do you see yourself? And obviously, he's talking about being a capo and everything, but for Dwight, it's like, no. Like, this life isn't for you. He's like, yes, like, you're no Boy Scout, but you're not a bad guy either. For him, it's like, to be a part of this life, there's something, you're not like on the extreme level of, you do some shady stuff here and there. Sure. You're part of some shady stuff. Sure. But you're not like mixed up in it. I mean, he's like, yes, there's the one thing of, yes, you're not Italian, so there's that. But beyond that, it's just like, this isn't the life for you. Like, go have a regular life. Because for him, he calls him a kid because it's like, yeah, you're 25 compared to me as 75. I got 50 years on you, kid. So to me, you are a kid. And I'm not about to, especially because, probably when he looks at Tyson, he thinks of his own kid. He thinks of Tina. So for him, it's like, you got your entire life ahead of you. I don't want to be responsible for getting you killed. Because even, with everything that kind of goes down, he's like, that car, like, obviously that's parked in your, like, driveway. So what if your mom, your sister gets mistaken for me? Like, that's a terrible situation no one wants. He doesn't want that. But for Tyson, he wants to prove himself. Like, I don't know why all he talks about is like, right, college wasn't for him, it didn't work out. Well, that's all we got from that, but I'm wondering what that was really all about. There has to be more to that. Why he isn't simple. Maybe for him, it's just like living in it, following his dad's footsteps. Maybe it has something to do with his dad, where it's like, I'm not going to follow his footsteps. Like maybe his dad has to work so hard. It's like, no, I want to make a name for myself. I want to have an impact in this world in some shape or form. And by following Dwight's footsteps, he feels like I can make the money, I can live a lavish life, and probably not have to work myself to the bone like maybe his dad does, because there's the effed up element of no child. A lot of children, I'd say, will do everything they can to not end up like their parents, for better or for worse. And just in some regards of just like, hey, if like your parents weren't that great, you're going to do like, I'm going to never be like them. And even if your parents are good people, they do this and that, you're still like, that's their life, I don't want it to be mine. So maybe there's a little bit of that with Tyson, but it does seem like his dad's like, no, come work with me and stuff like that. But Tyson was like, no, I'm not about that. His dad doesn't want him mixed up in this world. And you had Tyson like just flexing in the mirror being like, yo, you rolling up on my boy? You come for him and just, then you have to go through me. And you hear his dad's listening to this, and it's just for him, it's like, once again, I don't know whether his dad grew up around this, or whether he's like, yo, I knew people. That was kind of my thought before too. It's like, right, why he also didn't want Tyson mixed up with Dwight, because it's like, right, I've rolled with those people before. At the very least, maybe he knew those people. It's like, yeah, I knew those people. They were friends. They were people from the neighborhood. They're here one moment, they're going the next, whether that's jail, whether that's dead. He doesn't want that for his son. I'm sure. And let's face it, let's talk about the elephant in the room. You also being black, that's a different situation. You got to move very differently in this world. And I don't know if that's something they're really going to tackle. And I don't know if I think that's any, parents' concern in that regard. So that might be kind of what's floating through his mind right now too. But especially hearing his son talk like that, talking so like, cause yeah, like Dwight talks hard, but it's just like, yo, it's smooth. It's not like he's trying. The fact is that Tyson has to like try it out in the mirror and stuff like that. He has to flex because why he feels the need to try and prove himself, we don't know yet, but. Obviously, talking about the big thing too, obviously Dwight, driving to get his driver's license, and it's time for the big test. Driver instructor is Paul. He's doing his thing. Then some guy rolls up on him. Pop. Luckily, he got Paul down. They drove after the guy and started trying to go after. He almost got the guy, but sadly he ended up getting away. And I love the whole thing of just him just taking Paul's blood, and it's like, right, I don't have a pen or paper, so I'm just going to write the license plate number on the window. But when the cops are involved, it's like, no. I'm not a citizen. I'm not a civvy. I'm not going to just let the cops handle this. For him, it's like, no. In my world, when this stuff pops off, you handle it yourself, because if you don't, you look weak. But also it's like, I can't trust the cops to do what needs to be done in this regard. Someone's coming for me, I'm going to go for them. Obviously, the first thing in his mind is, hey, maybe it's Vince. Calls up Chicky, and Chicky's like, no, I squashed that. Like, all parties are kind of good. I don't know whether Dwight already handed over that $100,000 or not, that he was supposed to. Maybe he did for things to kind of be okay, or maybe that's because Chicky didn't bring it up, so that might be already settled on that regard. So it's like, all right, because once again, Manny's coming after Dwight, believing like, oh my God, he's going to kill me. But it's like, Dwight doesn't even know you're in Tulsa. That's the sad thing about, like, yeah, the past coming back up. It's like, right, you're making moves and you don't even know all the information. For him, he sees Dwight here. He's like, oh my God, Dwight's going to kill me. He's got to be here to kill me. It's like, once again, he didn't even know you were here until you pop. He's coming after you now because you came after him. Now, what Manny and Dwight's connection is, now that we have a little more, the fact is he went as far as he did, part of me wonders, there's two possibilities. One, this might be tied to the murder that Dwight took a fall for, the one he didn't commit, the one he went to prison for 25 years for. That guy might be under the impression Dwight pulled the trigger. Well, I mean, I'm assuming, I'm saying metaphorically speaking, because we don't know if a gun was actually involved in this specific murder, but hey, they might put it all on Dwight, and he's like, oh, I'm associated with that person that died. Because even Dwight said, like, hey, that person that died, I actually really liked them, and they didn't deserve to die. So it was someone he was cool enough with, and maybe Manny's just like, oh, this guy's here, like, maybe he was tight with the guy that Dwight supposedly killed, so on and so forth, right? So that's one possibility. The other possibility is, this is actually something full on from Dwight's past, like, as in, like, Dwight did something, and this guy has the rights to, like, you know, it's like the guy is vindicated in his wanting to kill Dwight. So we don't have that context yet. But because I brought it up last episode, I was like, well, Dwight only, like, you know, went down for one murder. But I'm like, well, that's all the cops got him on because he took the fall for this murder. But once again, he's a capo. He probably has a whole bunch of bodies. You know, he's probably killed quite a few people. That's the one murder he went down for was the one he didn't commit. So I have to consider that too. So Dwight does have a probably severely murderous past of people he's killed for the family and, you know, maybe for his own respective reasons. So maybe those two things are going to come into conflict, because this could be a thing of, once again, this might not have anything to do with why he went to prison. Like, this might not be associated with that murder, but it could be associated with the family he works for. Like, it could be something from their past that he did on their behalf, and now it's like coming back, and it's like, oh, the family's like, oh, you're going to have to dead that. Because ultimately, Dwight ended up tracking the guy down, right? So when he does, he ends up like rolling up on the guy's place, but he has a gun and he's ready, but he sees the guy, like his kid runs out and hugs him. Now, there's two things. One, Dwight's older now, so he's not going to be guns a-blazing, rushing in to take this person out, because it's like, right, your family's there. Some people might really like roll up and be like, yeah, like spraying and doing whatever. It's like, no, I'm not going to do that, because for one, he's older, wiser. I mean, to be fair, if the guy's kids weren't there, maybe, who knows, Dwight might have still rolled up on him like that. But it's like, for him, I'm sure he sees him with his kid, and it's like, right, I'm a father too. I'm not about to do that. Maybe he's going to try and find a diplomatic way to handle this. Once again, it is a thing of like, yes, he is someone that could be quick to, hey, if I have to use violence, I will. But typically, I mean, at least what we've seen so far, he doesn't go so crazy with it. Like, he's done some violent stuff, but obviously it's mild in comparison to some of the stuff he's most likely done as a capo. So it's like, hey, Let's find another way around this. Let me find out why you want me dead. Or he saw the guy's face, so it might be a thing of, because he obviously knew who to follow, because he recognized the guy. So he's like, hey, maybe we'll find another way. We'll see how that plays out. It's going to be interesting to see whether Dwight's going to have a softer hand with this, or will he handle this with a heavy hand. And if he handles it with a light hand and the family finds out, like I said, he might come in conflict with that, where they want him to handle things a certain way. Hell, they might come to Tulsa to handle things a certain way, because if Dwight looks weak, it makes their family look weak. So that's a whole thing. So maybe that will turn into that. Maybe I'm reading way too much into it. We'll also have to wait and see where things kind of play on that front. But I do love, obviously, the cops questioning him and everything. And he's just like, yeah, you know, I've taken my driving test. It's like, hey, I mean, you know, I served my time, but it's like, if you ask me, it might be my driving test instructor, because it's like, hey, I'm sure he's failed a lot of people and it's pissed a lot of people off trying to put it on Paul. I did love that he paid Paul a visit later on. It's like, yo, here's 10 grand. It's like, I need you to run a DMV number for me. It's like, hey, you know, it's like, and Paul's like, hey, gave it to him. It's like, cool. Never, you don't have to call back. Ever. So, okay. But that's always going to be an option for you in the future. It's like, yeah, making connections and stuff like that. I really like that, because obviously, like, going like to Bodie's shop and everything, he ended up finding out about the like nitrous oxide. I could not remember that word, because in my head I think about like the I guess colloquial term, like laughing gas, like that's what. But it's like, yeah, he ends up hooking up Mitch with the idea of like, hey, you say like, oh, you're trying, like, you have a whole bunch of stuff here because this place technically counts as a restaurant. You're suddenly in need of a whole bunch of whipped cream, and it's like, yo, you run those about $10 a pop, because you can get like, what was it, like basic 350 or so hits off of it. It's like, it was something like that. So it's like you can make like a crap ton of money off of it if you run them like $10 a pop or something like that. So diversifying the income situation. Got everything with Bodie. Is him and Mitch actually in business together, or is he just trying to like throw a little work Mitch's way to kind of help him out? Because as a fellow, hey, you went to jail, I went to jail, some camaraderie in that department. I don't know. Either way, we'll have to wait and see where things kind of go on that front. Like, that obviously was a kind of a small thing this episode. But another interesting element to it is the whole Stacy thing. When Dwight was kind of being questioned, she rolled up and like, it's like, no, ATF, you know, he's part of an investigation. It's like, she kind of didn't have to do that. They went out for dinner and stuff. And we learned a little bit more about Stacy, where we find out that, yeah, like, her circumstances, she's here in Tulsa, very similarly to Dwight, where she was kind of cast out, where it's just kind of like, yeah, this is where we're sending you to just kind of get you out of the way. Because apparently with her circumstances, she talks about, like, 9/11 was kind of a big thing for her job-wise, and it's like, yeah, during that time, she was a rock star in New York. But the problem is, with the moment she mentioned Sully, and then Dwight was like, oh, he's like, the plane thing? I was like, no, she can't be referencing that. It's got to be a different. It's like, oh, no, it is that Sully. But because I've never seen the movie, and I know obviously it's based on a true story, but I'd never looked into the story. I guess it happened. I didn't know what time frame that happened. Because I didn't know enough of the true story. I even had to look it up, because I was like, when was the date? Because part of me was wondering, like, was that fairly close to 9/11? But it's like, it happened in, I think I was reading January of it was definitely 2009, but I think I saw January maybe. So yeah, it happened a couple years later, but it's like, yeah, when that's kind of in you, I could see that fear still kind of resonating a little bit. And apparently she kind of freaked out, and I guess she just assumed like, oh my God, this is another one. She probably got all hands on deck and kind of maybe embarrassed the department or something like that. And yeah, they sent her here. As she says, it's kind of like Tulsa is kind of the metaphorical Siberia of like, yeah, this is where you get shipped off to, where people just kind of forget you exist. You're here, you're not fired, but we just want you to disappear because you're kind of too much of an issue. Which, once again, Dwight's in this very same boat. I mean, obviously she doesn't know that, but Dwight can understand. I think that's why he found some commonality in that for her. Because, obviously, because like both of them, it's like, oh, we both chose our career paths because we're both fucking crazy. There's something wrong with us. But the fact is that because she said, like, right, when you kind of go crazy, kind of do something that make an associate, like, kind of lose their trust in you, what happens? And obviously Dwight's like, yeah, that doesn't have a happy ending. So it's like, once again, they both know that very well about kind of, Dwight was already getting sent out here to Tulsa anyway, punching Vince in the face and kind of blowing up the way he did. I mean, granted, he handled it better. I mean, punching Vince was kind of the only thing he really did. So it's like, yeah, he probably could have done a lot worse, but, he was already they were already shipping him out to Tulsa anyway. So it's like both of them are in a situation where you kind of had to leave everything behind. So she moved out here with her now ex-husband and her plant. So, and this is, I don't know if this is like part of the reasons why they got divorced, or maybe it's just a myriad of reasons. Either way, her and Dwight hook up again. She's like, this cannot and will not happen again. And it's like, well, you said that before. You told your therapist it wasn't going to happen again, but maybe there's just something in her where it's just like, hey, Dwight, he treats me nice. He's kind of a bad guy, but also, like, I think there's something there. I mean, hell, later on, she picks up a dog from a crime scene because there's that whole opening sequence where that guy basically explodes. So because he's connected to some, like, biker gang, which ATF is investigating, and all of a sudden it's just kind of like, oh, that one of the dogs he let loose before he blew the place up, she came, got it, and now is taking it as her own, and she's naming it Chance and everything, even been like, oh, hey, Dwight, you had any plans? Obviously, he was tracking down the guy that was gunning for him, but the fact that she's calling him up and stuff like that makes you go like, huh, like, I think it is just a thing of like, right, what we have is kind of nice, and I don't want to, I mean, once again, maybe it's like, hey, we're both kind of fuck ups, and our past doesn't have to kind of define us, and it's just kind of like, yeah, what we have is fun, and it's nice. I should also note, the actress who plays Stacey, I was like, what do I recognize her from? I looked at her filmography, like scanning it really quickly. Her name's Andrea Savage, I believe, or is it Salvage? It might be. I believe it is Andrea Savage. Apparently she was in iZombie, and I think that might be what I'm recognizing her from. She was playing a character named, was it Vivian Stoll? Jason Doring played a character named, Chase, and he had a sister that died. That's why he ended up taking over the business and everything, and ended up becoming like a recurring character in like iZombie seasons 3 and 4. I believe Vivian, her character, was his sister. So, like, because it's been a while since I've seen those seasons of iZombie, but now in retrospect, I was like, I think that is the character I'm thinking of. It's like, that might be what I recognize her from. So, either way. So there was that element to it. There was also that lady that Dwight met too, DeVoe. She's the lady that works. I don't know if, I guess she's the boss, so she's the one that owns the kind of horse ranch that Manny works on. So I also love that they do kind of show that like Manny isn't like some criminal genius or anything like that, because Dwight was even like, yeah, whoever this is kind of an idiot, because fire needs oxygen to burn, and when this person set this car on fire, they left the windows rolled up, so there couldn't be no more oxygen couldn't get into the car to keep the fire going and burn the car. Because the car, like, from what I was like, it wasn't as destroyed, it wasn't as charred as it could have been, and that was because that person isn't some, they're probably some, like, it kind of makes Manny kind of seem like a schmuck, but maybe, who knows, I mean, he had the wherewithal and everything to like roll up on Dwight at a stoplight and literally drive by him like that. But just some interesting developments. I'm very interested to see where all this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I'm going to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.